Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Wednesday and welcome back to our series Journey Through the Tarot, where we are going through each of the cards one by one out of the Housewives Tarot deck by Paul Keppel and Jude Buffum. This week we are going to be looking at the Hanged Man. So as we always do, let's look at our first impressions on this card. As you can see, we've got a pretty chipper looking housewife. She's put her unmentionables and evidently her husband on the laundry line. Now in Norse myth, Odin hung upside down on Yggdrasil to gain the wisdom and the knowledge of the runes. But it's kind of even money whether or not the husband pictured in this, who's hanging by his loafers, if he's experiencing a similar experience of illumination. But what is beyond dispute is that he's experiencing a different perspective on current events. Yeah, I think he missed a few key signs before he ended up in this situation. And referencing back again to Odin's experience in the myth with hanging upside down on the world tree, that is what gave inspiration to the Hanged Man and the tarot to begin with. Now, looking at some of the details, we see the panties, and they remind me of the old adage of not airing your dirty laundry in public. But there are no proverbs about hanging your freshly washed undies in the privacy of your backyard. And I cannot get over the look on her face. She seems to have arrived at a solution to her problems that suits her. So let's take a look at our handy dandy booklet. It has a couple of key words that I think are pretty relevant. They are epiphany, hardship, and turning point. Now, the housewife certainly looks as though she has experienced an epiphany. The husband definitely appears to be experiencing hardship, and this would certainly be a turning point in their relationship, whatever the impetus for this situation was. But if we read the description, it has this to say. You've had an epiphany and finally see things as they really are. Whether it's your backstabbing girlfriend, a new washer-dryer set that isn't working as promised, or your womanizing no-good Nick husband, it's time to hang your problems out to dry. It may seem like a hard thing to do, but you must. Enough is enough. Keep in mind that this sacrifice and time of hardship is necessary to make way for future happiness. So we've got a lot going on. We've all had those moments where everything just suddenly becomes clear. Everything that we couldn't see before or didn't allow ourselves to see, it's just there. I mean, and it is crystal clear. There's no evading it. We cannot go back into pretending that things were actually something else. No, we are finally seeing it. We've woken up, we smelled the coffee, and now our eyes are completely open. That's very much the spirit of the Hanged Man. And it can come for a variety of things. I mean, whether it is friends who aren't really your friends, uh, mechanical devices in our lives that are not living up to promises, or issues with our significant other, there's a lot that can happen as we have a Hanged Man experience, as reflected in the tarot. And it does require change. If it was possible to solve the problems, well, you wouldn't be hanging upside down in a tree, having to look at things differently now, would we? And this is a difficult process, and I do find the card funny, but I'm not making light of the difficulties of that process. I've had times in my own life in which this is exactly how I felt, and I wasn't the one here. I was this person right here, and just the entire world shifted on me. And it's a scary process. It's you're not on solid ground, because of course you're not. You're hanging upside down in a tree, metaphorically at least, and it's difficult. But you have to go through it. Sometimes we just have to learn things the hard way because we did not take opportunities to learn it in a more gentle or controlled fashion. Now, when this comes up in a reading, obviously, this could mean that we are needing a new perspective. Our customary vantage point or our thinking process itself just isn't up to the task. You might need fresh eyes, another perspective, even to consider the possibility that one or more of our conclusions isn't quite right. That's always fun, because of course no one has ever minded being wrong or proved wrong before. Yeah, it isn't. That's not a fun process, but If this isn't brought to our attention, if we don't come to grips when we are wrong on those occasions, then we can never take corrective action. We can never address what thought process led us to arrive at this point to begin with. We can't look at the consequences of being on this wrong course because we will simply refuse to acknowledge that those consequences have anything to do with us. So it's necessary. Another note is that our difficulties are likely to continue as long as we remain obstinate and refuse to learn the lesson at hand. This is especially true if a patron deity is trying to teach us something and we're resisting that. Not a smart thing to do, because they will carry on and they will allow things to pile up, and they will speak in a loud voice that is loud enough for us to hear. And just how loud that needs to be and how dramatic the whole thing needs to be, well, that's something we can control somewhat by our reactions. So if we are getting hints, it's probably best to act on those hints the first time we hear them. Just a thought. One last note about this card is that it pictures a mental earthquake, which I alluded to a little bit ago. It's something that shifts your entire worldview. It's one of those moments where you take a look around and you think everything I thought I knew about the world, how it worked, about my life, where I thought I was, what thought I was doing, apparently it was all wrong. And this can be a very disorienting experience. And what that is cognitive dissonance. And then you are finally breaking through that fog of the cognitive dissonance. And it can throw you into a mental tailspin, oftentimes an accompanying emotional tailspin, and it takes time to recover. But rather than focusing on the pain, the inconveniences, and just the need to really rethink everything and how much work that is, rather than focusing on the downsides of this, focus on the potential rewards that lie ahead. If you realize that things are not as you really believe them to be, this is an opportunity for you to correct yourself, an opportunity to accept the world as it is, for the good and the bad and the indifferent even. You can be on more solid ground after this point. Your thinking process, there's a lot to learn from these moments of mental earthquakes. So if you are experiencing that, I'm not saying that you shouldn't seek out other people to help you through this, because you probably do need the extra support, but don't resist the lesson. It may be exactly what you need, and you may look back and think, oh, thank goodness I finally came to grips with this at that point in my life. It would have been so much worse if things had just carried on as they were. So, lots to unpack with the Hanged Man. Hope you're enjoying this process as much as I am. Next week, our card we will look at is Death. I'm kind of disappointed that this one didn't come up while we were still in the month of October, but, it's the way it worked out. But we'll be taking a good long look at that. In the meantime, if you would like to discuss this card, or you just want to hang out with some of your fellow pagans and witches, come visit us at Blackbird's Brew on Discord. There will be a link to join in the description box below. And of course, if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel, like, and leave a comment. But I think that's it for now. See you later.